Will Colorado be a rubber band team and snap back into place in the Big 12 championship discussion this year? To answer that question, I've got my guy Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs, and no better place to start when examining that question, Kevin, than what does your schedule look like? Because Northwestern, for many reasons, isn't going to win the Big Ten, but their schedule makes sure they're definitely not going to win the Big Ten. If you don't have the right breaks, then it's probably not going to work out. I look at Colorado's schedule, and I got to tell you, I mean, is that your reaction to it as well? Because that was the best reaction I could come up with.
You go two perspectives. You could make the noise that you're making. Hopefully no one's watching this without video and just hearing those noises, or you can look at it and be like, they're going to be tested by the time October rolls around. For those of you that aren't familiar, Colorado has 3 road games in their first 4 weeks. So they start the year in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. They get to come back home and play Weber State. Shout out Damian Lillard. Then they go to, that makeshift stadium that Northwestern has out there? Is that the real stadium? I don't know.
In Evanston.
Yes, they're going to be playing on the lake. And then they go to Waco, the land of Chip and Joanna Gaines, to play DJ Lagway-led Baylor squad. So that's a tough first few weeks. But at the same time, if you think Colorado made the right adjustments with their coaching staff and the right adjustments with their players, I think you're looking at that first 4-game slate going, we should be 3-1, 4-0.
I'm really excited to watch Colorado early in the season because Brennan Marion is one of my favorite coordinator hires for anybody in the entire offseason. And you're right that they're going to be challenged right away. I mean, the Georgia Tech game, frankly, is a bit of a wild card. Georgia Tech, I don't think is going to be what they were last year. Now, I think Brent Key has established them as a high-floor program, so I don't think there's a cratering fall-off. But you've got no Haynes King, and you've got no Buster Faulkner, your offensive coordinator. Those two guys were making that thing go. And then, speaking of Northwestern, in case you all think I do this show by accident, I definitely don't. I think about everything that we talk about on here. Northwestern on the road is a sneaky tough game. That's a bowl team in the Big Ten from last year that's got offensive coordinator Chip Kelly and quarterback Aiden Childs. I'm at least intrigued by that matchup. But then it's Big 12 play because we're just talking Big 12 championship, not playoff. I don't think that's reasonable for Colorado going into this year after the season that they had. At Baylor, Texas Tech, and Utah to start Big 12 play. There's a bye before they play the Utes at home at least. But, man, I don't know that there are many tougher starts in a 3-game span to conference play in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think it's pretty tough, honestly. That easiest game of that slate is at Baylor, and you're kind of just hoping, or not hoping, but obviously everything's going to go right for Colorado. That is the main hope, where it's like Brendan Marion's offense clicks, Julian Lewis takes that next step. The defense isn't a disaster, but you look at the schedule and you go, okay, well, it'd be nice if Dave Aranda starts to Dave Aranda by this point, right? Baylor's going to be 4 games into the season, and Dave Aranda his seat is as hot as it gets. I don't even know if he's still sitting on his seat. He may just be hovering over it, but does he turn things around with DJ Lagway? I don't know. And then Texas Tech, you're wondering, are they able to replace that $8 million defensive line, right? They paid a lot of money to do it again, but is it going to be the same caliber guys? Is Brendan Sorsby that guy? Or was he just sort of benefiting from picking on weaker opponents last year? I don't know, right? So we're going to find that out, but Utah is scary regardless. They return. I mean, Utah hung almost 60 on Colorado, so I think there should be a little bit of fear there, but I think worst case scenario for that 3-game stretch, you're 0-3. Like, that is very much in play. I think best case scenario, you're sitting at 2-1, right? You kind of maybe you knock off Utah and you knock off Baylor and you lose to Texas Tech. And I think most people would go, that's great, right? We survived that 3-week stretch.
I think when you include the non-conference there in the first half of the season, you're going to beat Weber State. Everybody knows that. At least I'd hope. Yeah. Hopefully we're way off the rails, or else
the Wildcats aren't like North Dakota State 2.0 and just all of a sudden push us.
Yeah, if Weber State goes to Folsom Field and walks out with a win, then a certain parent of a certain player former player, will feel rather vindicated in that scenario. But I think given that start, I think 3-3 is acceptable. 2-4 is where I probably feel they're going to wind up right now. I do wonder about Utah because they lost a number of guys going to Michigan with Kyle Whittingham, and I think Morgan Scalley will be just fine as the head coach. But you have him at home off a bye. I wouldn't be shocked. I think between that and Baylor, you got to find a way to pick one up. And between Northwestern and Georgia Tech, you got to find a way to pick one of them up. And then you'd probably
Colorado's at a point where it's like there's no longer like they were supposed to beat us, right? You are now at the point where it's like you have to steal a win or two. Otherwise, this season, like it's kind of crazy to think because I feel like Deion's first year fell off the rails relatively quick. And I feel like this past year fell off the rails relatively quick. But this year, I would say, this is like press the emergency button. We're talking about maybe hot seat chatter. You're sitting at the October 10th bye week with one win over Weber State, and you're 1-3 with losses to Georgia Tech, Baylor, Texas Tech. Then you're playing Utah at Oklahoma State, who's probably going to be one of the more rubber bandy teams, as you sort of patented earlier. And so you, in a terrible world, some might call it hell, could be 1-5, 1-6 through the midway through the season. And that's nowhere where you want to be. And so you have to be able to steal these wins and prove you're a better team. Spencer, my one question before we go back to what you're saying, sorry to interrupt you.
You're good.
Colorado, Georgia Tech's on a Thursday. Does that make you feel any different? Because I feel like that's when things get weird, is when we're on random days.
I think during the season, yes. When it's the first game of the year, no. Okay. I saw that, and my only reaction to it was, okay, great, we get college football earlier because we're waiting too long. This year's calendar is so bad. I don't know what genius came up with it, but man, it's so awful. We're waiting until after my birthday, which we've never done. We've never waited until after my birthday, September 3rd, to start playing college football. That's never been the case, so I hate that. The national championship is January 25th. It's all a mess. It's all a mess. And yeah, 1-5 would be disaster. 2-4, you're teetering there. 3 wins, solid. 4, real good. 5 wins, and we're talking conference championship or bust for the second half of the year. 6 wins, Colorado's ranked inside the top 15, probably, maybe even inside the top 10. So now you would think after that tough start to Big 12 play, Kevin, that the back half would soften up. Au contraire. And this is why I'm on Colorado's schedule. At Oklahoma State, very winnable game. They'll be improved, but I don't know if they're all the way back just yet. Kansas State at
Indiana?
I think Indiana's 1 of 1. That is my hot take for the day. Kansas State at Arizona State, and then hosting Houston before at Cincinnati and UCF. Very manageable end of the year. But that 3-game stretch again, yeah. I mean, I don't think Colorado goes. I don't think Colorado goes winless there.
Yeah.
I just don't know how many wins it's reasonable to expect with a first-year full-time starting quarterback.
Yeah, from October 3rd, which is the Texas Tech game, and you could probably even go September 26th, which is at Baylor. From then until November 14th, which is 2 months, Colorado is going through an absolute gauntlet. That being said, if they really made the improvements that I think they did, I think the schedule looks scarier than it actually is, right? Because as we talk about each of these teams, it's like, okay, let's go through each team. Utah, first-year head coach, right? They lost their offensive coordinator, savant Jason Beck, is now at Michigan, calling plays for Bryce Underwood. They also lost Smith Snowden. They lost a lot of key guys there. Oklahoma State, they were in the depths of college football this past year, and they improved their roster dramatically. Is that going to be enough to be a scary team? They remind me Big 12 circa 2020 or not 2014, excuse me, where it's going to be like they're probably going to hang 60 on you, but you're probably going to hang 50 to 65 70 on them. Right. So it's like, can you outscore them? So there's that. Kansas State, first-time head coach Colin Klein. I wasn't impressed with Kansas State at all last year, and I don't really know if they made the roster improvements. I feel like their roster kind of got worse, if I'm being honest. I mean, Kansas State.
No, they lost. They lost Austin Romaine. He went to Texas Tech. Jace Brown went, I believe, to LSU. Their stud wide receiver. You're not wrong. They lost a couple big pieces. They do have Avery Johnson back, right? But, and they added my guy Jay Harris at running back. But yeah,
right. But Avery Johnson didn't take the step we all thought he would. And then Arizona State, it's Cutter Boley, and it's like, do we trust Cutter Boley? I would probably say yes, because he was decent enough on a bad Kentucky team. But I'm playing for, this is for Colorado fans right here. Like, your first-time quarterback with a bunch of new weapons, or I guess second-time quarterback. And then Houston, are they able to take that next step? That's my question, because I feel like Colorado had them on the ropes with Ryan Staub. With a better quarterback, I think that situation could be different. And that's now Tennessee quarterback Ryan Staub to you, Spencer. And then Cincinnati and UCF, I think those are both winnable games. I'm not scared of either of those. So in a terrifying world, it's like, yeah, Colorado could lose that entire stretch, right? That's just how the way the sport goes. But I don't think you bring in Brennan Marion from future MAC program, Sac State, and not have that success, right? I think he's going to revitalize this offense. I think Colorado's going to be way different than what we've seen. And I think they should win 6 to 8 games this year. I don't know if it's always going to be pretty, but I think they can win 6 to 8 games. 8 is my ceiling.
I think that's a reasonable take. That's why we bring him on. Kevin Borba, Locked On Gloves. He just looks reasonable in those glasses. That's the real reason that he's got sharp takes. If he took them off, if he went contacts, this segment would have been off the rails a long time ago. Thankfully, it wasn't. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.